What's going on, guys? This is Nerdlit from Hype, and over the past few months of pushing out Destiny-related content alongside Hype Unit, and with the approaching Shadowkeep and First Light launches opening the doors for anyone and everyone to try Destiny 2 for either the first time or trying a Destiny game in general for the first time, I felt like it was the right time to make a sort of welcoming guide to get people settled with the game and give people a general understanding. This will be the first part of a small multi-part series that I will be using as generalized guides for the different sections of the game. The first one will be centered on the characters and what each character does. Part 2 will involve gear and basic leveling, and Part 3 will be focused on what activities and content are available within the game at base. Starting off, just like with any game of this nature, you'll want to pick a character. D2 offers 3 classes to choose from, which are Warlock, Hunter, and Titan, and you are given 3 save slots, so you can have one of each if you so choose. Each class has 3 subclasses, each with their own ability sets that cater to a playstyle, and alongside that, each class has 2 general class abilities that are available across each subclass, and an ultimate, which is called a super in this game. If you're on desktop, you can click any of the 3 pictured characters, move to their explanation, and otherwise, if you don't have any understanding, you can just sit and let the video play. Up first comes the Hunter class, and this is the most beginner-friendly in terms of movement. They have a jump ability by name of Double Jump, which works just like you'd expect a double jump ability to work in platformers or anything like that, and it can be tuned for greater height or greater control, depending on what you really need. The Hunter class ability is Dodge, which is also a beginner-friendly ability, as it has 2 very simple functions, where either you will get the option to reload your weapon immediately with a simple animation, or you get the function of getting your melee back if you use your dodge nearby to enemies. Skill trees up for offer under Hunters are Gunslinger, Night Stalker, and Arc Strider, each of which offers a different placement. Arc Striders are the first that you get in the main story, focusing on melee abilities. One skill tree gives you the ability to chain melees back to back to back for increased damage, and the other is focused on evasiveness and ability regen. The ability regen tree also gives you damage resistance when you dodge, which is great for getting out of tight situations. Super Arc Staff is a melee-based super and has button press combos alternating between your aim and fire buttons that allow you to maintain good crowd control, and one combo that deals very high single target damage. Gunslingers are up next, which focuses on precision. Gunslingers get an ability which is activated by headshots in each tree, where one will give you bonus to your reload speed and the other gives bonus super energy. The super, Golden Gun, changes in a few very important ways between each tree as well. The super itself is self-explanatory. You get a powerful gun that you summon for a short time that deals very high damage. You can either take a crowd control or DPS role with this super, with a 6-shot variant that fires in full auto and refunds a shot with each kill, or a 3-shot variant that deals headshot damage. Night Stalker is the last, which is themed around the namesake of being a hunter. In this theme, your melee is a smoke grenade that will either turn you invisible or deal damage over time and obscure the vision in PvP, and cause enemies to cover their face and not attack temporarily in PvE. I should mention both Night Stalker trees have access to invisibility in one way or another. One tree will get it from using their dodge, and the other will get it from using their smoke grenade. Additionally, the super, Shadow Shot, will fire either a single tether or multiple tethers depending on your skill block. The single tether sticks to surfaces, can be fired farther, and lasts longer, with it not actually activating until enemies trigger it, while the multi-tether is active upon impact, and if you hit a tether target with another Shadow Shot, they take increased damage. Titans are up next, and they are a nice mid-ground between Hunters and Warlocks. Their jump ability is Lift, which is a much floatier jump with a big emphasis on upward momentum. As a note, this jump is a bit of a commitment. as trying to move the opposite direction of the direction you were already moving in reduces your momentum to 0, and your jump will stop before you start moving again. Titan class ability is Barricade, with either Full Barricade or Rally Barricade. The Full Barricade will block projectiles and disorient enemies that walk through it, and covers a larger space, while Rally Barricade is a half wall that you can peek over and gives your weapons maximum reload speed. Skill trees available to Titans are Striker, Sentinel, and Sunbreaker. Sentinels will be the first that you work with in the story. Sentinels are a subclass revolving around a lot of defensive abilities. One tree gives you a melee that gives an overshield to you and nearby allies on kills, and allows you to use your super to create a defensive bubble that not only gives you and allies an overshield while in the bubble, but it gives you a weapon buff that remains active for a short time after leaving the bubble, and it can be refreshed every time you return to the bubble. The other tree replaces your melee with a charge ability that disorients and suppresses nearby enemies on hits. Sentinels are also the only class that have access to suppressor grenades, which prevent enemies from using abilities when they are hit by the grenade. The main super, Sentinel Shield, gives you a shield that you can dash enemies with, block incoming damage with, or throw to deal ranged damage. Strikers are up next, which has a large focus on melee. One tree gives you a shoulder charge ability that regenerates grenades, and you have access to 2 grenade charges at base with this tree, while the other gives you a melee ability that reloads your weapons on kills, as well as giving you additional weapon damage on melee kills. Alongside that, this tree grants additional melee damage when you break an enemy's shields. The super for both trees is Fist of Havoc, another melee-based super that has a focus on extreme ad clear. You have light attacks, which are similar to the shoulder charge you have access to, and heavy attacks, which are full slams, and one of the trees even gives you a refund on super energy when you kill enemies during your super. Last up are Sunbreakers, the more diverse of the Titan classes. Talking about the super before anything else, Hammer of Soul at base will allow you to throw hammers at a decent range, which makes this the only pure ranged super for Titans. One skill block allows you to have good ad control, with hammers dealing bonus damage the further you throw them. Enemies killed by these hammers explode, and the hammers themselves split into smaller hammers on impact. This tree's melee is also the charge ability for this class, which debuffs enemies at hits, causing them to take 50% more damage when hit with it. The other block is more of a support tree, which causes you to create small flames called sunspots on solar ability kills, and sunspots regenerate your abilities faster, grant bonus weapon damage, and allow you to throw hammers faster in your super while standing in the sunspot. Last up are Warlocks, the class with the most focus on abilities, as well as the movement options that people find hardest to adjust to. First up, Warlocks actually have 2 jumps in the form of Blink and Glide. Glide is your base jump, which is a floaty jump, but with a more free range of movement than Lift. Momentum is still a factor when working with this jump, but you can make much more horizontal distance with Glide than with Lift. Alternatively, Voidwalker Warlocks specifically have access to Blink, a jump ability that gives you a short-range teleport as you jump. It's a great ability if you're trying to be evasive, however this game has some small parkour sections that are made a bit more difficult if you try and use Blink. The class ability is Rift, which is a deployable buff that will either heal you and give overshields while standing in it, or it will give you additional weapon damage. Warlock classes are Dawnblade, Stormcaller, and Voidwalker. Dawnblades are up first, who have a couple cool, unique movement abilities available to them. Firstly is Phoenix Dive, which will lock you in place and catapult you downward when you press a button, but while you fall, you regenerate health. Additionally, the other tree gives you Icarus Dash, which is an aerial dodge, only available to that tree. The Icarus Dash tree also has the ability to fire its weapons and use its abilities while using Glide, which can be very helpful. The super, Daybreak, gives you a flaming sword that fires projectiles when you swing it. This super also gets a huge momentum boost when jumping, which allows you to cover massive amounts of ground while in your super. Icarus Dash and Phoenix Dive are both able to be used while in super on their respective trees, with Icarus Dash getting no cooldown, and Phoenix Dive causing an explosion upon the landing. Voidwalkers are next, which are mainly focused on changing how grenades work. Both trees give you an alternate charged grenade ability, which play into the larger tree in some way. One tree makes your charged grenade deal more damage, have larger explosions, and cause enemies killed by them to explode, while the other tree causes your grenade to gain the buff Devour. Devour regenerates any health on kills, and regenerates your grenade alongside the health buff. The super, Nova Bomb, works in conjunction with their respective skill blocks, with the charged grenade tree being a larger explosive that not only tracks enemies but splits into smaller projectiles upon impact, and shares the bonus of causing killed enemies to explode. The other tree has a smaller initial explosion, but leaves an area of effect that deals damage to anything that enters. Last up is Stormcallers, who have quite a few neat perks. Firstly comes the Super Storm Trains, which basically turns you into Emperor Palpatine, and allows you to shock everyone with lightning from your hands that will chain from enemy to enemy. One tree focuses a lot on this chaining feature, with further chains on the super, chain damage that comes from dealing damage with your grenades and your melee, and a blink ability for use while you're in your super, allowing you to be more evasive. The other tree gives you a suite of abilities and recharge tweaks, such as a melee with increased range that gives you ability and super energy when you hit something with it, faster rift regeneration when you're surrounded by allies, and a small turret that follows you around briefly after standing in your rift called an Arc Soul. This tree also has the super augment Landfall, which causes lightning to strike in an area around you after you cast your super initially. That covers all three classes and gives you a general overview of the abilities available to each class. Any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and next I will be putting together a gear overview and later an activities overview. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.